Yeah. Hello.
Where's the scatting?
Sorry, I couldn't stomach it. Hello and welcome, episode 2 of the Sunday Movie Marathon podcast.
I thought you were about to say this shit talk then.
Unfortunately not. We are 3 dudes looking to share our thoughts on the different films that we watch. My name is Max.
I am Chris, aka Gizmo CH, aka Crimbo.
And I'm Connor.
And if you haven't listened to the first episode, the idea for this podcast is that we get together once a week, or at least we try to.
Did you write a note of the description of what you're going to say?
Pretty much.
I'm not on script, guys.
So yeah, we watch movies, try to watch them back-to-back marathon, and we talk about them on the podcast. We've done franchises and recommendations, and once a month, hopefully.
It's got a lot of fucking notes.
Yeah, man. But hopefully once a month we'll do a 50p movie marathon where we'll go to CEX.
No, right. So literally, as before you got here, I said to Max, we should make the last Sunday of every month the 50p one, because that way, if there's 5 Sundays in a month or whatnot, then we don't go like. Yeah, it just makes it easier.
Yeah, I think what we were trying to do before was
it would be the
1st of November.
No, that's not the last Sunday of this month.
25th.
Yeah.
It's October, Chris. We're doing the last Sunday of every month, so the 1st of November.
I got confused because the last day of the month's the 31st, and that's on Saturday.
Yeah. Next month's got a Friday 13th. Thought it was this month, but...
Nice. We should do a Friday the 13th marathon that week.
If it comes up.
We could do, yeah. If the spinning wheel lets us.
If it
I will make
us worthy.
Let us.
So this week, we obviously had the Will chose a free-for-all, which just means we all get to pick a movie that we wanted. So Chris chose The Fly.
Mm-hmm.
Max chose The Piano.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to lie, guys, about 20 minutes into watching Red Dawn, I really regretted choosing it.
Well, anyway, we'll get to that. But obviously the first one was The Fly, David Cronenberg directing.
So, Chris, do you want to give a brief synopsis of the movie for the people that haven't seen The Fly?
Yeah, so Jeff Goldblum, he plays a scientist who shows Gina Davis's character, a reporter who he's trying to shag, shows her his teleportation devices that he's created, and he's trying to develop it so people can safely transport throughout the 2 things. The first half hour is him trying to perfect it, and then finally after they get together, they argue. He's had a few drinks and he gets angry and decides, fuck it, I'm gonna get in this teleportation device, and if it kills me, it kills me. But when he does it, a fly gets inside the teleportation device and their genes are spliced. So the rest of the film is Jeff Goldblum slowly turning into a gigantic fly.
But they don't even argue. She fucks off because...
Yeah, her ex calls her.
Yeah, and he thinks they're banging, so then he just does it. What a simp move.
This movie was disgusting.
Yeah.
I'll say that right off the bat.
Max really got cringed out when Jeff Goldblum started picking off his fingernails.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some David Cronenberg movies. I've seen Naked Lunch, which I really liked, and then Videodrome, which I really didn't like. So it could have been either or. But I did end up liking it. It just repulsed me.
I thought the movie was funny.
It's pretty funny.
And I don't think I've ever seen Max laugh at a movie as much as when he jumped through the window and stole the girl.
That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God.
Max, do you want to start it off because you've got all the notes and we can just riff off whatever you've got. Max has come prepared with a laptop with 6 pages of notes.
I've got a few bullet points.
Yeah. I was just gonna.
I've got most notes for Red Dawn out of all of them.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it?
I had 2 notes.
For what?
The whole thing.
Oh, not for specific films.
No. So the first note was Jeff Goldblum has bug eyes, and the second one was the first stone ever discovered was found in Europe.
Okay. That's a good point, though. Not about the stone, obviously.
It was a lie.
About... Yeah,
Made it up.
There we go. about Jeff Goldblum.
And that was in the first 10 minutes of The Fly.
I want to say he was cast really well.
I thought it would be more authentic if you two come prepared with your notes, and then I just riff it and see what happens.
Yeah. So Jeff Goldblum, I want to say, pick up on what you said about his bug eyes. Perfect casting.
Yeah, I think he was perfect for this role just because of how ridiculous and over the top he can be a lot of the time.
But not only that, but I think he's over the top, but the way he's like you, monotone, but more charismatic at the same time. I'm not saying you're not charismatic. Wow.
He acts in a very awkward and non-human way.
Yeah,
like just the way he talks and interacts with people, like not just in this film, just outside of it in general.
Yeah.
So I think he fit the role perfectly, especially during that transformation where he starts like becoming this huge cunt, essentially, when he's like still looking human, but he's got this fly DNA in him.
It was quite erratic behaviour from him as well. I think that's sort of associated with his like speech, I guess, like the way his inflections and the way he talks. So that sort of emulates that of a fly, not the way he talks, but like the way it just moves about different places.
That is one thing that I wanted to touch on, is after the transformation, or no, not even after the transformation. So after he goes in, and then he bangs his girlfriend, and then wakes up the next day and just randomly starts doing gymnastics. A fly does not have super strength, nor does it have... It's got... How can a fly do gymnastics?
All they've got is they can hold things like 1.6 times their body strength.
Yeah, but fair enough.
Kind of what they're going for.
But it doesn't mean you can start doing like fucking swings around a pole and backflips. It really didn't make sense to me, that part. Like, it would make more sense if he got fused with an ant, where it is just incredibly strong. But the powers, just didn't make sense to me. That didn't take me out of the movie, but I was like, that's not really what a fly does.
They've also got good reflexes that they show off at one point.
Yeah, they got that. If anything, he should have just been really fast.
Yeah. He kind of was, to be fair.
I mean,
the crawling up the wall was I thought that was really unsettling. When I saw it, because obviously I've watched Spider-Man, and I was like, that just looks. You can tell it's not real. But when I saw him do it, I could envision that if people could crawl on like the ceilings and shit, it reminded me of like horror movies where they crawl up walls and shit, and it's just very unnatural but realistic. Yeah.
Obviously, he gets the girl, but like, what was that one scene at the beginning where he goes, "Hey babe, you wanna come to my place? I got a teleportation device to show you."
Yeah, what did
and
you
then, like, what he fucks her?
Yeah, well, no, he doesn't even bang her that night. She fucks off, doesn't he? And then he shows up to her work the next day.
Right. What was that about? She just like falls for him.
Yeah. This is... I didn't... What do you guys think of the romance in the film?
It's very rushed.
Yeah.
I think my biggest problem with the film is that romance side, because it's a very short film. It's only like an hour and a half. I think it probably needed like an extra 10-15 minutes maybe to develop their...
Yeah, kind of. But maybe just more scenes of them doing more, like improving their... I don't fucking know.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, more relationship stuff.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it needs more of that in the film.
How long was this film in terms of like the time frame, do you think? How long did it take from beginning to end?
I'd probably say 3 or 4 months, maybe a little bit longer, because I feel like there's some huge like transformation things that I doubt would have happened like in a day.
Maybe. I'm just thinking, if I was that girl and I met a guy and then he slowly started turning into a fly after like a couple of months, I'd be out of there.
I'd yeet myself out the window.
Like, well, this ain't gonna work, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it was definitely not great, their love story. I think they do have some chemistry, but I don't think it's that great. I don't think either of them like badly cast. I don't know. I think it is literally just because they don't have a lot of scenes together before everything starts happening.
I also like the part of the movie where after he turns into Fly and tries to take her into the machine, he calls her a fucking drag, and then
Yeah.
walks out with nothing but his jeans and a top on. Oh no, jeans and a leather jacket on.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
got his top off. It's like,
And then he
fuck.
pulls a different girl at a bar.
It's like, $100 says I can win this arm wrestle and take the girl home. She's like, who says? Do I look like a hooker? And he just like does the eyes. I'm like, you can get away with that in 2020.
Don't worry, babe. I got the fly powers. But it's like, I forgot what I was going to say.
With all your
I don't
fucking
even-
notes there, how can you forget what to say?
There's just so many of them. Oh
Pick
yeah,
one.
he got so ripped for this movie.
Yeah.
Did he get ripped for this movie, or was he just ripped already?
I don't know. I've never seen him ripped in any other film, so...
It's just very strange to me.
To be fair, when I was like, Jeff Goldblum does look a little beefy in this film.
Hmm.
I was like, that's surprising.
Yeah.
When he starts doing the acrobatics, I was losing my mind.
What were you?
Like, wow, look at him go.
It probably wasn't
Were you
even
getting
High
him?
physique,
We're getting a bit hot and sweaty over
a
it.
little bit, and that was before he started getting hot and sweaty. The prosthetics in this movie, disgusting. Classic
Yeah.
David Cronenberg. Horrible prosthetic makeup, always,
Yeah,
and practical effects.
I think all the practical effects are really great, but it's just so
Yeah.
gross and disgusting.
It was kind of like, it reminded me of like Alien, in a way.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
horrible. Yeah, just
Well,
like
the film Alien.
yeah, it was just like the way they use like sort of like pussy, wet practical effects that look like I don't even know, like a jelly. It's like this guy, like when he starts like spitting acid out of his mouth, that was horrible. Or like when he starts picking scabs off of his like face,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
his fingernails come off and his teeth start falling
yeah,
out.
the part that got me was when his teeth fell out.
Yeah.
I think I've had like 4 or 5 dreams where I've dreamt about losing all my teeth.
Yeah,
There'd be nightmares, and yeah, when he like put the pencil in his mouth and then took it out and just his teeth fell out, I was like, oh, that's fucking
that is
grim.
the stuff
And then
of nightmares.
when he opens up the cabinet and there's fucking everything in there, Max thought his penis was in there.
Yeah, I'm
Well, it
pretty sure
could've
it
been.
was.
Yeah, I mean, he
But-
pulls his ear off.
Was it practical
Disgusting.
effects?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of the thing,
Yeah,
but a lot more disgusting.
yeah, I think The Fly came out a few years after the thing.
Mm.
They were both the 80s.
Yeah. I liked The Thing. That was a good movie.
That's a
What?
brilliant movie. Yeah.
Well,
John
we'll get-
Carpenter's.
I really hope that we get a Thing marathon where we can do the first and second.
Well,
That's on it, isn't it?
John Carpenter has a trilogy of horror movies, and one of them is The Thing.
Yeah, but do you not want to watch the 2011 Thing?
Not
really.
particularly.
It's not bad. It's just
No, it's not bad. But did you hear that they did practical effects for the whole entire
that's
thing?
what I hate about
But
it.
the company didn't realise that they had CG'd over everything until they
Yeah.
saw the screening.
It's ridiculous.
But
What a
that's a
shame.
different movie for a different time. But yeah, the practical effects I thought were really good. I liked the whole, like, was it when she hit him in the mouth or something? His jaw just fell off.
Yeah, she just
And-
grabs him by the jaw and rips the whole thing off.
And like when Max said it looked really painful, like you can kind of, it reminded me. Do you know the scene in Wishmaster where they're in like the casino and one of the guys is getting like his skeleton's just like ripping out of his body
Yeah.
and becomes its own thing? It just reminded me of what that would feel like, having like your body just fucking break inside
it
of
must have been
itself.
so painful.
But it's Jeff Goldblum in it. Probably just got the Infinity Stones afterwards and clicked his fingers.
Do you think for this role Jeff Goldblum actually turned into a fly?
I mean, he doesn't even turn into a fly in the movie. He can't fly, can he? Like, the closest he gets is he jumps through that window, which
Do
is
you know
hilarious.
what? Yeah, for a movie called The Fly and him taking over a fly, what do flies do? They fly. Never once see him fly.
He flew through that window.
You fucking jumped through the window.
Yeah,
He
he
didn't
must
even
have
have
jumped through
wings
it.
at that point.
I don't think he ever actually grows fly wings. He never
No.
fully completes his transformation.
No, I like it when like he's. I don't know whether it's because. Do you reckon he kept his consciousness? I don't know, because in part of the film, doesn't he says when the genes spliced together, he essentially died, and this new thing was created. That's neither. What's his name? Brendel.
Brundle.
Brendel, nor a
Brundle,
fly.
yeah.
Brendel bug. So
He still has this subconscious, but I think his brain's clouded.
yeah, which would make sense because at the end he points the gun at his own head and she's like,
Yeah.
kill me.
Was he that great of a guy to begin with, though?
Not
I thought
really.
he was kind of an arsehole.
He did seem like a bit of a cunt.
Yeah, I think that's kind of intentional, so you don't like spend the whole film incredibly depressed that this character you loved is going through all this horrible stuff.
See, yeah, and I was thinking the other night, like, at the end of the film, when she goes to shoot him, but then she doesn't, and he, like, puts the gun to his head, and he's like, kill me. I was like, is that meant to make you feel sad for him? Because he's just been a massive dick throughout the film. And then I thought, no, it's a tough decision on her, because she has to kill him to put him out of his misery, but at the same time, she's having his kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously he gets her pregnant. What the hell? And he's so mad about it. Like she tries to get an abortion, and because she think it might be part fly. What a weird. That was like
And then he
kind
stole
of
her.
like
Yeah.
terrifying to me as well.
And he takes it from it and basically just says, please don't kill this baby. It's the only part of me that's left.
But it was she got pregnant after the transformation, so it's not even part of him. Because it's got the DNA from this fucking weird creature.
Yeah, it's both his DNA, so
Yeah, but
that would be the baby.
yeah,
And that was the baby in the sequel.
yeah. But what I'm saying is, if he classed himself at that point as not being the guy or the fly, he's a cross between the two, saying that this is the last thing that's part of me doesn't make sense, because if you don't class yourself as you anymore, and this kid is your DNA,
I think it may just be one of those things where
they forgot to the fucking lines.
no, when he's like feeling great about himself, that's when he's like, yeah, I'm this fly hybrid, I'm the old me's dead. But like when he's depressed because the girl he loves is about to kill his baby, that's when he's like, he realizes that he isn't what he wish he was. So
Maybe. But one thing that this film, what I wanted to bring up watching this film, is the idea of teleportation.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard, I was watching a video on it like a couple weeks ago, and it was just talking about how teleportation could actually work if it was theoretically possible, or if it was possible, sorry. And it's like the idea to teleport is to break down every atom in your body down to the smallest thing and convert it to a different place. Therefore, if you go into the teleporter, the moment you step in there, you're dead. What comes out on the other side is not you. It's just, like he says in the film, it's just the computer, ones and zeros, breaking down everything that is you and then materializing it in another place.
yeah,
So when I was thinking of it, when I was like watching the film and thinking of that, it kind of makes sense when he says like it's not him anymore because he died, and it just made me think like how fucking weird would it be to teleport if that was the case. And then there's there's the Stephen King short when he went under like a pen name of when he did the idea of teleportation, and it was like, although it's instant for us, for the person going through the teleporter, it felt like an eternity, and they came out crazy at the other end. Just a little fun thing to think of. What else are on your notes, Matt?
I've written allegory for disability, question mark.
What, sorry?
maybe.
When she tries to get rid of the baby, I sort of picked up on like a sort of metaphorical thing with like disabilities and how people are sort of looked down on and shunned for it. And here's Jeff Goldblum, the Fly, trying to defend his disabled baby, possibly. And he gets killed for it in the end, unfortunately.
Just like real life.
Yeah.
Do you know, though, with genetic engineering, they can actually get rid of some defects now
Mm-hmm.
if you've got the money to pay for it.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure which ones it is, but I watched a video about like, has genetic editing gone too far? And there's so many people that are against editing the embryo, but then when you are born, you can have plastic surgery, you can become transgender. Again, nothing against that, but you can do it. No one's criticising that.
Sure.
I think it's all about it being their decision.
Well,
make
if a
those
baby's going to
changes
come out
themselves.
disabled, I guarantee you it's going to fucking want to not to.
You never know. Some people may just want to live life how they are. Some people don't want
I
to.
don't think anyone wants to decrease the quality of their life.
You never know.
And yet Jeff Goldblum's The Fly does. He's out here wearing the same outfit every goddamn day, dressing like Mr. Bean.
Here's a question for
He's
you.
had the
both, right?
same...
Oh, yeah,
same-
Max. Is
He's got, like... Was it Gina Davis opens his wardrobe and she's like, why have you got 5 pairs of the same clothes? And he's like, so I never have to, like, think about choosing.
Did you guys notice,
Einstein
though,
did it.
after he went through the teleporter, I think it's like the first or second outfit you see him in is nothing that was in that wardrobe.
Yeah, they abandoned that pretty quick.
Or maybe it was a theme
Yeah, a
to be
subtle
explored.
thing that they did.
Maybe.
So, yeah. But here's a question for you. So, there's a disease that you can get, and it's inherited. So, if your mum's got it and your dad hasn't got it, there's a 50% chance that you'll have it. And it essentially just kills you slowly. It could happen from the age of 20, could happen from the age of 60. But this goes on with the idea of disfigurement and deformities and this sort of stuff. So if you and your wife want to have a kid, there's a 50% chance that it is going to genetically inherit this disease from you, and it will kill it, but you just don't know when. At that point, would you choose to have a kid knowing that there's a 50% chance that it's gonna die? Could be early on in life.
I think I'd rather adopt at that point.
Yeah. What about you?
If it was going to turn into a super sick fly monster, I'd probably have it.
We're talking about serious topics, Max.
We're talking about the fly, man.
I'm posing a dilemma to you both.
This isn't the shit talk podcast. This is the Sunday
Do you know
movie
what?
marathon.
I'll save it for that podcast. You're right. What else you got then?
I want to talk about the kind of things that I do not like about this movie. I'm not crazy about really any of the acting. I think Jeff Goldblum plays the same person in every movie he's in, and it's like funny for an amount of time, like in Thor Ragnarok. I like his character in that, or like Jurassic Park or whatever. But then when you see him every other time in every other movie, it's just like, this is the same thing. I know exactly what he's going to do. He's got his like little tricks, and he's just does his same voice, and that's his character.
Only ever seen Jeff Goldblum in Thor Ragnarok and the Jurassic Park movies and Independence Day. Even in the Independence Day, it was relatively the same character.
Yeah.
It's always a scientist, or
I think it's literally the same with me. I can't think of any other films.
he's just
I've seen
been
him
typecast at this point, like RDJ.
in. It's just what he
pretty
does well, I guess.
But I can't even. I don't even know what because I don't watch many movies from the 80s. I don't know what acting was like back then, whether it's evolved now and people have just gotten better by the year that we live in. Because the only sort of 80 movies that I've watched are The Thing, which I think the acting was pretty good in, and then the Rocky series, which I kind of don't think the acting was very good in.
No, acting has been the same quality as it is now for years.
All right.
Yeah, I would say so.
I like Jeff Goldblum in this film.
The-
Luckily, I think he's a very entertaining person, so I feel like if you get bored of him in everything, you're not going to enjoy him in this.
Back onto the acting thing, whenever he was having arguments, or in the scene where he's in the cafe and he's explaining this stuff really fast and she doesn't get a word in, and then he like calls over the waiter and they don't come over, and he's like, for fuck's sake, or something. It just cringed me out a little bit. Where he's so monotone, pardon me, where he's so monotone and just so dull in how he speaks, I was just like, I can't take this seriously. It just made me like really cringe to hear him try and have an argument or sound serious.
It's kind of just how he sounds generally, to be fair.
Yeah.
Although he speaks normally like much more like low volume and seductively. Like, I listened to a podcast he did with Conan O'Brien, a TV show presenter, and he just kept speaking like this into the microphone and sort really ASMR seductively style and stuff. It was really weird.
Hey guys, Jeff Goldblum here.
But saying that, sure, I'm not mad about his acting, but he's also the most entertaining character in this movie for me.
Yeah, well, there's not really, I wouldn't say there's really many characters in this movie. You've got Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, Jeff Goldblum, his love interest, her ex. Then you've got the Doctor.
The girl we pulled.
Yeah, but three main characters. So yeah, so there's not really an ensemble cast to sort of look to.
Her ex isn't good at all.
He was a bit creepy, in all fairness. Like, the part that I didn't really get is when she comes home and he's in her shower. And it's just
what the hell was that about?
I understand that it may have been different in the 80s. Obviously, we weren't alive then.
I think it was still weird in that film.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, maybe
people in the 80s, they were just doing that all the time.
Maybe, yeah, who knows? Who knows? Oh, she dead.
I don't think Gina Davis is that great either.
What else has she been in?
Beetlejuice.
Another movie I've not seen.
Probably about it. That's what I'm thinking.
Beetlejuice is a good movie. Of course, there's the baboon as well.
Ah, yes,
Jeff
the
Goldblum's
baboon.
baboon shows up for a bit.
Disappeared.
It just disappears. Yeah, I don't know what happened to it.
He is the best actor in the film.
I reckon he ate the baboon.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Fashioned his teeth into his own teeth.
Yeah. They're fucking falling out, may as well. So any last words on The Fly?
I want to say that I did like it, but a lot of it felt very corny to me and very silly. I didn't like the way it looked, visually, and I think
fucking hell, wait till we talk about the piano.
There's he lives in this disgusting grimy apartment. Everywhere around it is just muddy and there's rubbish everywhere, it was all very cluttered because he's in a science lab or whatever, but I don't think it complemented the movie in a way that I found to be visually attractive. Not in another movie he's done, Naked Lunch, which is a lot more vibrant, I would say. So that didn't really appeal to me, I think.
Maybe they were trying to go for a dark and gritty theme for this film.
And the music as well. Who was it? Howard Shaw who did the music. Yeah. I was like, oh, Howard Shaw, I really like him. But even the music sounded a bit too dramatic for me at times.
For me, I kind of accept a lot of it is very cheesy and over the top, but that's kind of why I really enjoy it.
It's a good Halloween movie, I'll give it that.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, I'd watch it at Halloween.
That's why I picked it, because it's a fun horror movie.
That's why you picked it, because it's Halloween.
Yeah, it's October. Yeah, October is spooky season.
How many flies out of 5 would you give it?
I give it 4.5 out of 5 because it's just a film that I really enjoy. Flies out of 5.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 flies.
Why have you just changed the rating system?
Because sometimes I do half stars and I just... it's easier to keep it consistent with a 10 scale rating.
Alright, we'll do 10s. I enjoyed it. I thought I wouldn't. I probably couldn't watch it again for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've not watched it multiple times in a year.
No, I've
probably seen it 4 or 5 times throughout my whole life.
Yeah, I'd probably watch it 3 more times in my lifetime, and that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give it 6 flies out of 10.
Nice one.
Therefore, yours would translate to 9 flies out of 10.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's about
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So the next movie we got is...
The Piano.
The Pianist.
From... No,
that's
not the
a different movie.
It's actually a movie.
Yeah, you got the piano, the pianist, the piano teacher, all these piano movies. People just love pianos, I guess.
This was Max's choice.
It was my choice. I picked it. From 1993, directed by Jane Campion. And I was looking through my book called 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. And I chanced upon that, so I wrote it down. And then I still wasn't fully decided on it, but the next day I went into town, looked at HMV's selection, and I saw that, and I thought, that's a sign then. So I got it.
Oh, did you see it on the list the night before and then see it in the store? Yeah, may as well.
I thought, fate, isn't it?
Do you want to synopsis of the movie?
Yep, basically, it's set in 19th century New Zealand. A woman who is...
You fucking lied. You said 18th.
Yeah,
Guess
well,
not.
I don't know all the facts.
19th century, 1800s, isn't it? So basically, there's a woman called Ada. She's mute, and she goes to some... I think it's like an island, but it's like a jungly part of like New Zealand. No, New Zealand's an island, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she goes there with her daughter called Flora, but they never say her name in the movie at all. I just learned that from...
Wow, I didn't know that.
No,
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't know her name.
No, so they don't say it, but I found out afterwards.
Maybe
So
maybe that's the point, because the mum doesn't say the daughter's name, no one knows it.
Maybe. So yeah, she goes... I think her father has found her a suitor in New Zealand, played by Sam Neill.
Another Jurassic Park actor.
Yep. And so she goes there, and she's very attached to her piano, and this is sort of a means of communication for her, and it sort of starts people being rather upset with her about this piano, and over the course of the movie she meets Harvey Keitel's character, a man who lives with the native Maori tribe, and slowly things start to feelings start to develop between her and Harvey Keitel's character, despite her supposing to be married to...
She cheats on Sam
Neill.
Neill. Sam Neill gets pissed off.
Yeah. So what do we think?
I've got a fucking issue with her kid. So, like Max was saying, this guy trades Harvey Weinstein's character
Harvey Keitel. Not the same person.
trades land for this girl's piano, which she's not happy about, but Sam Neill does. So he says to her, I'll give you the piano back, a key for every time you come round and play it for me. So she's trying to get this piano back. She ends up falling in love with this guy, fucks him. She's banned from seeing him, so she gives her kid a note to give him. Rather than the kid giving the note to him, she fucks off to Sam Neill's character and shows him after he was laid under the floorboards while they were banging.
Yeah.
And it just annoyed me. And then she got upset when her mum got like her finger cut off, and I was like, what do you expect? You just fucking grasped on her.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope to that point, I think, that happens very late
Can you
into the movie.
explain what the movie is about?
He just did.
I just did, man.
No, because I said I had no idea what the meaning of the movie was.
Right.
What the point was. But you said you've got it noted down.
Yeah, I mean, the meaning is tricky, I guess. It's whatever you interpret from it. But the way I saw it was a sort of examination on femininity, on like it struck me as very feminist, and an examination of how women were treated in that time. Obviously the main character Ada is mute, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's very reminiscent of the way that women were sort of silenced back in those days.
In
how they
them
were
times they had no voice.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, Max.
And
fair enough.
so this piano is a big way that she communicates. It's and obviously they end up leaving it on the shore when they arrive, and just this whole time it's on the beach. She's like, I need my piano back. She's trying to communicate with Sam Neill's character. He's sort of wrapped up in his own thing. He's trying to buy land from Harvey Keitel, and doesn't really pay her much attention. He came off as very... I don't like how this movie tries to portray Harvey Keitel's character as sort of like the good guy in a way. I think they're both arseholes, but Sam Neill is probably the bigger arsehole, I would say. And so he's sort of wrapped up in trying to buy land from the Maori tribe, and so Harvey Keitel is the one who's sort of like a spokesman for them, and he says that he'll trade him the land for the piano. And I think Ada gets very upset at this, understandably, and he doesn't really understand why. He's like, we've all got to make sacrifices, I think he says. You got, like, you live with me now, you're supposed to be
my property.
And that is how women were seen in those times. And so he basically cuts off her only way of communication in a way that he doesn't really understand anyway. So in his eyes, I guess it's like, yeah, well, whatever, it's just a piano, isn't it? It just doesn't matter.
A lot of meaning behind this film.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, did you like it?
Yeah, I loved this film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really great. I definitely agree with what a lot of Max was saying about the meaning of it being all about how, like, women were oppressed and stuff. That's kind of what I was taking away from it. I do think I had a bit of issue with Harvey Keitel's character, because I got that they were kind of trying to say that he was the only person, like, paying her attention and, like, the only person who actually genuinely had feelings for her, but he was still quite rapey.
Yeah, it was the whole idea of he used his power, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
he ended up taking her piano and then started increasing or shortening the amount of time that she could get it back from by progressively getting worse and worse in the stuff that he was asking. So at first it was take your top off, then it was
like he was lying on the floor and he said, lift your skirt up, and there's like a bit where there's like a hole in her tights and he just sort of touches the hole, and that's like, back in those days in the 19th century, it's like people would go mad for women's ankles and all that. So even just like the tiniest bit of flesh is like such a turn on to
and
them
there's
back
the
in
bit
those
where
days.
he, like, tells her to take her top off so he could just see her arms.
and then rub her shoulders, and then there was the I just want to lie naked next to you, which they did.
First he says, I just want to lie down. How many keys is that going to cost? And I think it was, what,
10?
two keys to lie down, just to lie down.
Oh, 15
and then
to lie down naked.
It was 10 to lie naked.
No, it was 15. She went out, didn't she?
I've seen it twice.
Both
it's
hands.
10. She went 5 on one hand and then 5 on the other, and then flashed up all 10 together.
I thought
and he
she
said,
went 2
yes,
and
10. And I don't know where I was going with that.
I kind of thought that the reason why she fell in love with him was kind of like a Stockholm syndrome sort of thing. So then
That's what
when
I said, wasn't it?
yeah, that's what we were talking about. So then when it got to the bit, like, right at the end when she, like, attaches her leg when they throw the piano into the water, I was like, oh, that's a pretty fitting end, because it's not really a happy story, but then they go in a completely different ending with the
I read up on
completely
this.
different direction.
Director Jane Campion did not want this ending.
No.
Did he
wanted
want
a
the
different...
whole her dying with her piano?
I don't know what she wanted. I just know that this was not the ending that she wanted, and I get that. I mean, the ending wasn't like the best in my opinion. I would have preferred it probably if she had died.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, when she was, like, going down with the piano, I was like, okay, this is a pretty good ending. But then when they left it very ambiguously whether, like, she did die or whether she had a happy life without the piano with Harvey Keitel,
well, I think
that's where I was just kind of like, yeah, this kind of just ruined the ending for the film.
I think
for
she
me.
did survive, because she says in the closing monologue that sometimes she does envision herself back there, and I would agree. I thought the ending, by the fact that she just wanted to kill herself and leave her kid with some random bloke that she had known for a week or so, I thought that would have been a little bit odd if she literally, because then she would have cared more about this piano than she did her kid, and that would have been a little bit like, what? But I thought it was like a metaphor for her killing her old self, which is why at the end she said she was trying to learn to speak, so she could have another form of communication, because the one that she did have and that piano was tainted. And maybe it was the fact that when they were on the boat, she threw it over, it was just her leaving her old self behind. She didn't want that type of life anymore, so she just wanted to be a little bit more happy. But at the same time, like you said, Harvey's character was a bit of a prick, real arsehole. So, yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're getting at, but for me, I didn't think it really fit the rest of the film.
What would you have chosen for the ending, both of you? I think it would have been much better if she did die.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because then it would have been... But then at the same time, the only thing that I can't get over is her kid was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... I think I'm not one to say like you probably should have done this, shouldn't you, for the ending, because it's not my movie.
No. What would your ending would have been to finish off the story that you maybe would have wanted?
So she says, throw out the piano. What she
does, yeah.
Sign languages to them.
You can talk.
She says,
fuck.
Damn it. But she says, yeah, throw out the piano, and they do throw it out eventually, and then she puts her foot in like the loop of the rope that's going down with it, and maybe I would have just like cut when her foot was like in the rope, and then maybe just showed the piano at the bottom of the ocean with like maybe a rope hanging up like upwards, and then like you don't know whether she's on it, but it's just there, so you can...
Yeah, could have left it like, did she or didn't she? Yeah, that would have been really good, to be fair, because then it would have left open for discussion.
But it's like a way for her to, like you said, cut off her old life, because this piano has been like sort of a crutch for her. I think she's relied on it quite a lot, and it's been the source of like so much like comfort for her, but also arguments with basically everyone else that comes into contact with it.
But then she left with the guy that basically groomed her.
Yeah, that does annoy me. I'll be honest, it does annoy me, and it sort of annoyed me less on the second watch, but it's still sort of got to me a little bit. Yeah.
What your ending, Chris? What would you have? Would you have agreed with Max?
Yeah.
I think that would have been really good.
Did you guys know that Kurt Cobain saw this movie one day before committing suicide?
Well, that's probably fucking why. Max, he didn't commit suicide.
That is true. He was murdered by Courtney Love.
Yeah. Kurt Cobain was fucking murdered.
It's something I found from like the beginning. Chris has seen this movie. It's called Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I thought that was very reminiscent of like the beginning scene in this, where they're on like the water, and like this movie looks stunning, by the way. I thought it looked beautiful. And yeah, I thought probably Celine Sciamma, who directed Portrait of a Lady on Fire, took quite a bit of inspiration from this, much in the visuals and like a bit with the story as well, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking the whole film that there was a lot of like visual parallels that I could think between the two movies.
Yeah.
And also in the way that it's all set in like only a handful of locations, has almost kind of a claustrophobic sort of feel.
Yeah.
And how it's just set across this small island. I think I really liked that about the film. But yeah, Portrait did that also.
I think I want to go back on the Maori tribe. They're like a constant in the film, and Harvey Keitel sort of speaks for them, and I think Sam Neill's character sort of looks at them with about as much, I don't want to say disdain, but like it sort of is towards them.
As much respect for them as he does for his wife.
For Ada, because he also can't understand them. He needs an interpreter. And there's a scene when Flora, the little girl played by Anna Paquin, who I think does a really great job playing that character, is playing with the Maori children as well, and he comes up to her and she's like hugging the trees just like them, and he's like, you don't ever do that, do not ever do that again, it's like not becoming of you. And then he makes her wash the trees, I think, with like soap and water.
Fucking hell.
And it's like, you are such an arsehole, man. I hate this guy.
I was going to say, I don't think he was as much of a dick as that Harvey guy's character, but Harvey was a bit of a rapist. This guy was a bit of a racist.
Yeah, I think kind of what they were trying to go for with Harvey's character was that he didn't really understand how to interact with women. Like, I kind of got the idea that maybe he didn't know that doing things like that were wrong because he'd never really interacted with women and like who he had feelings for, who he was attracted to. He kind of grew up in this place where men dominated women, and if you tell a woman, undress, I want to bang you, you can get your way. I kind of thought that was probably why he acted the way he did. A lot
of it back in them times as well, wasn't it? Like Max said, like women were just treated as property rather than valued as an individual.
But there's that Chris was saying, and I get it to an extent, but it's also, it doesn't stop him being a creep for me. He tries to play like the victim when she won't lie down with him, and just he keeps touching her and she doesn't want it. And I'm like, maybe that's sort of a symptom of the time that it was made in, like 1993. Maybe it was a little bit more acceptable back in those times, but now we live in like the age of like the hashtag Me Too movement, and it grinds on me a little bit more because of like everything that we have for reference in like 2020, I think.
Experience and uncovered. I kind of felt like they were trying to play him he was trying to play himself as a victim at some point. So when he was like coming in and moping around his bedroom, and she was trying to talk to him, and he was just like, or like, take the piano, blah blah. I was like, I genuinely don't know what they're trying to make us feel for this character, because he's done some pretty appalling stuff. Yeah, and it's almost as so. How can I describe this? So, you know when like you do something wrong at home or something, and then you just like act all mopey or something to try and lessen the punishment or whatnot you're getting from your parents, to make it look like you are sympathetic for what you've done. I kind of got the feeling that he was going for that, like he was just acting really moody and that sort of behaviour to either get some form of sympathy from what was her name again? Sorry, Ada. That's the one. From her, or like Max said, try to play himself out as the victim. And it just, it's like, what? How on earth are you going to do that?
Yeah, it's like, I think that's also ties into like the concept of like femininity and the way women are treated as well back in those days. There's like a scene when they're waiting on the beach where they have to wait for Sam Neill to pick them up, and they use, I don't know what it's called, like the dress frame
as a tent.
And I thought that was like, obviously women back in those days were just like meant to be like seen and not heard, and like this sort of visual representation of a woman using what she's got practically was sort of like rebellious in its own way. I thought there was a lot of that in this movie as well, with like the tent, like I say, and just how she acts towards other people as well. There's a lot of people in this movie, but it also feels very small scale.
Well, there's a lot of people because of what they call the Maori tribe. Yeah. I think the only sort of real characters you get anything from that develop a character and a personality are Florence, Ada, Sam Neill's character, and that Harvey whatnot's character,
Baines.
Is that what his name is?
Yeah, his last name.
I think all the acting is really, really good in the film.
I liked the kids acting.
And yeah, she was really good.
Rogue.
Sam Neill, unlike Jeff Goldblum, who's another actor from Jurassic Park, this Sam Neill's character, I've never seen him act anything like this, so it was really refreshing to see him go outside of, I think the only things that I've seen him in though are Jurassic Park 4-2, as a brief cameo, and I don't think I've seen Sam Neill in anything else other than them.
He was great in Hunt for the Wilder People,
right?
Film directed by Taika Waititi.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot he was in that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Plays the dad, doesn't he?
Maybe I just need to watch more Sam Neill films, but I did like his acting in it. I think he portrayed a very creepy, angry man.
I thought it was kind of interesting how both Sam Neill and Anna Paquin are New Zealand actors playing British characters.
Sam Neill, New Zealand?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was interesting that they had them two playing British characters and then Harvey Keitel playing a New Zealand character, even though he's American.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a interesting thing that they did.
Anna Paquin was great, like I said.
Yeah.
I like the bit where she's like trying to get the dog out from under the house. She's like poking it with a stick. She's like, get out of there. Get out of there, doggy. Come on. And then like she's like holding it in like the rain. She's like, oh, poor doggy. What mean person will let you out in the rain like this? Yeah. She was great. She's so great.
She definitely deserved the Oscar that she got for this film, which is pretty crazy considering how young she was.
How old was she?
9?
Yeah.
I think. Oh, her. I thought you were on about the adult actor.
Yeah, she was good as well. She also got an Oscar, but the young girl got Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah. Made some dumb decisions in the movie, but...
Yeah, I mean, there's... Like, when she tells Sam Neill about Ada's message to Baines, I kind of get it. I get why she's doing it. There's, like, a part when they're in the tent at the beginning where she tells Ada, I'm not going to call him Papa. And then towards the end, she starts gradually calling him Papa. And I'm like... This has happened because Ada has sort of neglected her for Baines, Harvey Keitel's character.
To get the piano back.
In that way, it's a bit more... I understand it a bit more when she goes to Sam Neill and gives him the piano key.
Do you know what? Maybe... Saying that, because I didn't think of the whole her neglecting her child for this piano thing. Because when you think about it, the amount of time that you see her and Baines together... and not the child, maybe it makes a lot more sense now that she would have like killed herself with this piano, because maybe she did care about it. Maybe it's everyone in this movie other than the child was flawed in some way.
There's because when she's like having the lessons, as it were, she shuts Flora outside and Flora's like, come on, can I just come in? I won't look at him, I'll just stand in the corner. He's like, no, you got to stay out here. And there's like obviously a reason for that.
Looks through the holes when they're...
But that makes it more understandable when she does what she does.
Yeah.
And unfortunately...
Spoiler alert.
I mean, she is just a
Probably
kid.
should have said spoiler alert like 20
Max
minutes
it in the description, so if they don't read it, it's their fault.
I hope so, but it's maybe not, but okay. It makes it a bit more understandable. And obviously, she doesn't understand the full weight of telling Sam Neill about the piano key, but she does it anyway. She's like, I thought maybe it wasn't proper to give this to Baines, and then unfortunately that ends in Ada getting her finger cut off, which is also sort of reminiscent of there's a parallel between the piano key that's been taken out of the piano and her finger that's been cut off as well. So it's sort of like, I saw it as the piano key is like the key to her heart, because she writes like, you have my heart on it, and then she gets her finger cut off. It's that I like that parallel.
Maybe the fact that the kid was neglected and Sam Neill was conditioning her not to act like the tribe people, maybe that's why she did what she did. Maybe she was just conditioned from it to think that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, obviously he gets to spend a lot more time with her when Ada's doing the lessons as well.
I think the kid fucking hated him after he cut off her finger, though.
Oh god, yeah
probably.
But if it's any consolation, Max, I liked this film more than I liked Midsummer.
That's fine.
But I will say, though, Mute acting is very fucking hard. So I will give her props just because you could see the emotion she was trying to convey. Just even in so you know when Sam Neill's character says that he's given the piano for land, she starts signing to him before she decides to write down. I really liked how, rather than how she usually signed, it was a lot more aggressive, and
she starts tearing down like the clothes as well,
clothes and everything. Because there's like an actor in like The Boys, the show that me and Max watched, that only communicates through sign language as well. And I think acting's hard enough as it is, let alone trying to convey acting in
for sure
stuff like that.
It's
definitely. Like the character from Watchmen, who's the guy that plays he's in Friday the 13th, the remake.
Do you mean Nightmare on Elm Street? The guy who plays Freddy Krueger? Yeah, Rorschach.
Rorschach, yeah. His face is covered up throughout the majority of the movie, so his acting is conveyed only through speech
Yeah.
and his actions.
I've got a lot of respect for actors who sort of have to deprive themselves of like a sense.
Yeah,
you know?
and then still do a good job. So
Like Charlie Cox in like Daredevil, he's supposed to be blind. He looks like a blind man in that.
Yeah, I like the fact there's subtle things where like people are talking to him and he is actively looking away because obviously blind people wouldn't make eyesight, which I think in one of the Fantastic Four movies, one of the girls is meant to be blind, she's just looking people in the eye. I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
No, for sure.
There's a couple other things that I had noted down that I wanted to talk about before we move on.
What did you say?
Fuck off. I know Connor didn't like the colouring in the film, but I thought all the visuals in the film, in terms of the colouring, the shot composition, as well as like the set design and costumes, I thought it was all really beautiful and well done.
Did you like the colouring though?
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
I don't know. I don't know why there were parts where you could blatantly tell there was a blue and orange filter on some of the shots, and the only reason I imagine there's a blue filter on some of those shots is because they've recorded during the day and they had to make it look like night.
I'm not sure.
I think it's more just to add like a nighttime sort of feel. I think it was still probably shot at night, but it depends, because if the little girl was in it, then they have to have like a certain, the way that child labour act like laws are, they can only act at certain times of the day,
which
so
is why I'm thinking that it's
possible.
It's meant to, because I don't know. I just really maybe it was representing something, that something's happening on screen. Obviously, I can't see properly, so maybe I missed something.
I think it was to kind of add a coldness to the film.
Yeah, but then what are the shots with so the orange shots are meant to be some warmth, but there was still bad stuff going on.
The orange stuff was because the rooms were all lit by candlelight. That's what
but it was
I
also
assumed
like
it was.
outside as well. I think just like sunset.
Back in like the 1993, probably they couldn't. I don't know what technology was like back then. I wasn't born, so I don't know what they had to work with. But for me, when it just randomly went from one shot and cut to another one, and there's just this blue filter and tint over everything, it just really put me off, so I don't get it. Why is it there?
I'm not sure. It didn't really annoy me all that much. I kind of liked
Just
it.
questions.
But like I watched, like if you watch like the first James Bond movie, there's like a scene in there where they're like on a boat, and you can tell they've just lowered the brightness. They've filmed in like bright daylight, but it's just darker. They've done it in post-production.
One of the things I really hate about watching the Fast Four movie is the overuse of, I don't know what the camera angle's called, where they do it from like
Dutch angles.
Dutch angle, the overuse of that.
Yeah, it's awful in that film.
And it was just the same thing, like unless it's put there for a specific reason, it just draws you out of it.
I feel like it probably was put there for a reason.
Yeah, maybe.
Just none of us know that reason.
Yeah, I couldn't find it out.
Max has a million notes, can't give us the answer.
Maybe if there's like a commentary track or something on the Blu-ray, that could tell you. I don't know.
Maybe. I haven't watched it yet.
Anything else you wanted to touch on?
I think we went over everything.
All right, Max.
The music.
Actually, no, the music.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking that the music, as it progresses, like as the film progresses, the music that the character plays, it gets a little bit more depressing and starts sounding less hopeful than it did at the beginning of the film.
Makes sense with Max's saying that it's her form of communication. It would make sense, wouldn't it?
I really like that aspect.
It's just those subtle things, isn't it, that people do in movies, and you're like, yeah.
Holly Hunter, the girl, the woman who plays Ada, has apparently been playing the piano since she was 9 years old. Yeah. So a lot of what we see her playing is actually her playing.
Yeah,
and I
really
love
good.
that. It's so good.
Yeah, it's like in Amadeus, how everyone plays every single note perfectly in that film. It's all the actual actors playing piano.
It's crazy. Guy like plays the piano upside down.
Yeah.
It's insane piano playing in that as well. There's a few quotes that I thought were quite interesting.
This is one of the quotes.
Yeah. it's all from the Maori people. There's a part where they're on the boat at the end, and the guy goes, "The piano's a coffin," and that sort of very emulative of like the last shot, or like one of the last shots when she's in the water with the piano. It's sort of like her death in a way.
Maori people, what are they called again?
Maori.
That was all subtitled, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I missed a big part whenever they talked because I couldn't read it.
That's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe
there's also a part where one of them says when they hold the piano key after Sam Neill's gone apeshit, he gives it to them, and they hold it. It's been detached from the piano, and they just go, "It's lost its voice. It can't sing."
Ooh,
and
wow.
I was like, wow, that's a really powerful line.
Yeah, that one resonated with me as well.
Mm-hmm. And because there's like a part like before when like they're transporting the piano and they're trying to play the piano in quite an aggressive way, but it's also a way that sort of says to me that they're trying to learn like a foreign instrument in a way that probably Sam Neill's character just wouldn't bother with.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot more tolerance with them.
They made an effort. He didn't, did he? But music is universal, a language that everyone can understand, no matter what language, country, or ethnicity.
Yeah.
That you come from.
Absolutely.
So, Chris, how many pianos would you give this out of 10?
I'd give this I'll probably go 9 again.
9.
Literally, I probably would have given it a 10 if it wasn't for the ending and the kind of sketchiness of Harvey Keitel's character, not really being sure what his motivation was. But I feel like maybe I'd change my mind on a second viewing.
Well, obviously I have seen this movie twice now. It was a 7 out of 10 the first time. Watched it a second time. Now it's an 8 out of 10 for me. I really love it.
I'm going to give this a smack bang 5 pianos out of 10.
Awesome.
Yeah, we kind of just established that this isn't Connor's sort of film.
Maybe if I could read everything, like had my glasses where I could properly see everything,
Maybe.
and watched it a second time, maybe. But the film was just really slow. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm like so impatient, and just like so much shit needs to go on at once for me to somewhat be entertained. And
Yeah, it's a slow burner.
maybe it's a film for smart people, and I'm just not one of them.
I remember like towards the end, like when things start kicking off, you were like, now it's getting interesting. There's like, obviously like the part where she gets her finger cut off.
Oh, fucking go on,
That
Sam.
was like terrifying to me. I was like, oh my god, what a scene. Doesn't react at all to it. It's just like all in.
I did like the
her
fact that when he
face.
cut it off and she just no whimpers, no screams, no nothing. She just like stared
Yeah.
and sat down, and that was just it. She was silent. A piece of her was missing.
Just like the piano.
There we go. And that brings us on to the last film of the trilogy, which was...
Go ahead.
I don't have a lot to say about this. There's Red Dawn. This is a remake of a film that was made ages ago.
2012, directed by Dan Bradley. The only movie he's ever directed.
Yep. So that film is a remake of something that was made in the olden
80s.
times. In the 80s.
So what happens in this
So
movie?
essentially, North Korea works with Russia to invade the US by taking out all of their electronics through a new EMP device they've made. They successfully do it in the majority of the states, and then a group of kids in the state that the film is set in rebel back, call themselves the Wolverines, and fight back against Korea. After one training montage. I was surprised that there wasn't 2. So the film stars, or the noticeable actors of the film are Chris Hemsworth. What's his name?
Did you say Chris Hemsworth?
Chris Hemsworth, yeah.
Right, okay.
Josh Peck and Jeffrey D. Morgan. I think that's his
Jeffrey Epstein.
name. No, Chris. The nonsense were in the last movie.
I would have enjoyed this movie more if there were nonsense in it. It would have been more entertaining.
So the first time I watched this film was actually in 2012 on Netflix, of all things. And I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I regretted picking the movie about 20 minutes into it. I picked it more because it was nostalgia factor, and when I was scrolling through Netflix, it was on there, and I was like, I haven't seen that in a while. That would be a good movie. Have any of you two seen it? I know you said you did see it.
Yeah, I saw it in the cinema when it came out, and I think me and my group of friends were the only people in the theatre.
Yeah. You've never seen it, have you? So you've got a lot of notes on this, so do you want to kick it off?
It was just shit.
Yeah, it's not good, is it?
Yeah, it was. you have to. Yeah, it's the thing that I didn't get about the film is there's a part in it where it's like maybe 30 minutes into it, 35 minutes into it, where they have maybe a day of training. It's just literally one little training montage of them fighting, shooting cans, bearing on shooting cans, and then they go to rob more guns, and just all these kids that have never seen anyone die, killed anyone, kill these guards with no remorse, and it's shown no PTSD, no traumatic experience.
There's
nothing.
like a couple of people go like, "Oh man, I can't believe I just did that."
There's just
And
one,
that's like it.
yeah, one kid who's from the actor from Hunger Games. I don't know what his name is.
Josh Hutcherson.
That's the one who hesitated in shooting, but then ended up shooting and upwards. And like the film progresses from these kids having no. Chris ignored the part where Chris Hemsworth character said that he was in the Marines, so Chris was like, I have no idea how he's got all this experience. It's in the beginning of the film, but my brother spent a year training to be in the army, and I think one of my brothers only went over to Afghanistan once for a short period of time. So I didn't think it was realistic in terms of how these kids, these teenagers who were still in school, could do the things that they did and have no ramifications whatsoever.
Yeah, it didn't make sense how all of them could perfectly fire a gun without like the weight and power of it affecting them in any way. Like there's those two really skinny girls who use RPGs at one point. They're perfectly
No
fine.
recoil.
And it's like amazing.
Doesn't
actors.
explain how any of them like are really good when it comes to like tactics and knowing exactly when to show their heads and hide and stuff like that. Like stuff that you genuinely would need like lots of training to be able to do.
So when Chris Hemsworth's character dies, and then like Max said, Chris Hemsworth being just went on to Josh Peck because he just went from like nothing to being a badass, and I was like, when he was like, get on my ass or something, he's like, as soon as you get out of here you haul ass or whatnot, and I'm just like,
Chris Hemsworth's American accent is terrible in this.
Yeah, that was my
does not sound
first
American.
I
moment.
couldn't tell whether he was what accent he was doing.
Yeah, that's why it's so
It
bad.
It was like
very-
sometimes it was kind of American, sometimes it was like a little too Australian.
I
Yeah.
think that's why in every film since then he's just done his normal accent.
Bearing in
Yeah.
mind though, I think this was shot either the year of I think it was filmed as 4 was coming out.
Yeah, it
And
would
back
have been.
then I think Chris Hemsworth was a no-name actor back then, whereas opposed to now, I don't think that was his type of movie, because I watched Extinction as well, and Extraction, sorry, and I didn't really like that as well. Although Chris Hemsworth is a very good action star with very good in action movies, I don't think that type of action though.
Yeah,
I feel like any movie that's pitched to him that means he can hold a gun, he'll just do it.
yeah, like the greatest film ever made, Men in Black International.
Oh yeah.
Fuck me and Chris went to see that, and that was awful. The second movie that I wanted to walk out of.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't, to be honest.
Well, I can't wait for us to get another free-for-all so I can choose Cure for Wellness.
I don't think I could stomach it.
I think we need like a banned list of films for this thingy,
Yeah,
just so we know to avoid.
Obviously, so the film starts and then like 5 minutes in maybe, like, no, don't even bother trying to introduce us to any characters.
Yep.
Josh Peck's there, he's trying to be a badass but he can't really pull it off. He's just like kind of a mopey teenager sort of guy with like his eyes half closed and his hair slicked back or whatever, and then like all of a sudden North Korea invade and they're just plunged into this massive explosion fest. And like the editing, I hate the editing in this movie. It is so bad. This movie is a 12 rated movie and you don't see a drop of blood in it, I don't think.
no.
And
Not even when the dad's executed.
No.
Which is another thing. So, like Max was saying, when Korea invades, a plane blows up their neighbours. No reaction. Their dad gets shot on the head, other than one scene where you see Josh Peck's character try to run, Matty try to run towards him, and after that shot, the only time you ever see it is where they're like, what do you miss? And he just starts smiling, it's like, walks off.
The
Yeah.
special effects in that scene where the planes all come over and start like crashing into houses are so bad as well.
I hate like the editing and also like the camera movements when they start invading. It's just like static held shots, and I just couldn't help thinking about, you know, that scene in like Avengers Infinity War where the spaceship comes down and then it's just like this long tracking shot where you see Robert Downey Jr. just like going around the corner out of the building, and then like you just see people running past him. There's nothing like that in this movie. There's no thought to it.
No.
There's like no one put any thought into this movie. They were just like, what's the message of this movie? That's what I wrote. What's the message of this movie? And all I could come up with was America cool, America great.
But you talking about that shot from Avengers Infinity War. You think they both try and do the same thing by putting you in the action, because they're both centered on one of the main characters going through the city or experiencing what's happening around them. You're down on there with them to try and put you in it. Avengers Infinity War did that really fucking well. Red Dawn didn't.
Do you feel connected to any one of these characters?
But then again, you do have like 9 years worth of emotional attachment to these movies in the MCU, so it may sway it.
I think even if you didn't, even if you went into Infinity War knowing none of the characters, you'd still you'd still connect and understand the characters better, because those characters actually have life and are played by actors who are really great. But in this film, there's just nothing. The characters are all the most cookie cutter characters possible.
There's no character development either.
No.
Other than them just getting like master grade, like the end of the film as well, where none of them have any real military experience. The only one that did is dead, and the other two military guys that are actually part of the Marines currently fuck off in a helicopter. And then the end of the film, you see a bunch of kids that have been trained by someone who's only had a day's worth of training, attacking a compound of trained Korean soldiers, and they're wiping them out. And you're like, this doesn't make sense, because you would not be able to do that.
Do they explain what happened to the US Army at the beginning?
Not in the beginning, but because they had the whole EMP thing, they weren't able to communicate, so the army was probably just rendered useless because they didn't know where to deploy the troops or what to do.
But that's the thing.
Surely it'll be reported upon. Like
if it's an EMP, there is no TV.
Yeah, but
all the electronics gone.
What about when they go home? Get home, watch TV.
What do you mean? The electronics are gone.
So wiped out like all of America?
Well, I don't know if all of America, or whether it's just certain parts.
Okay.
But this is the thing. No, they don't explain, Chris. Not one bit. Why the one thing I've always thought of? Why isn't the army there?
Yeah, that's what I was spending the whole film like. Why are these teenagers taking it into their own hands?
I think the only explanation you get is when the Marine soldiers came and met the fucking the group of people,
Wolverines!
And they went, so where's their army? And then they're like, oh yeah, the EMP. Yeah. I always try and put us in that situation, like if we were invaded by like Korea or something. I'm like, I'm pretty sure the army would just fuck them up.
Yeah.
But then the big issue of that is where the EMP did take out a lot of their military technology. They couldn't shoot planes down because they didn't have sonars to track them. So by the time the whole North Korea army was in America, it's probably hard to get your troops back into America to fight something that's been well guarded.
I'm sure in real life they would have backup measures in case there was an EMP strike.
Yeah, most probably do.
The structure of this movie is horrendous. Like what happens in this movie other than North Korea invade and they just got to train and shoot at them, I guess. And like there's like a sequence where they go and they shoot at them and they leave and then they go back and they shoot some more, and then the ending it's just them shooting at them still. And there's no point where there's like some sort of a plot twist or like nobody put any thought into the structuring and pacing of this movie, and like maybe we should have something like actually happen.
There is a plot twist.
Oh yeah,
Chris Hemsworth dies.
Crims Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. That was like
he was about to go drink his beer with his new girlfriend.
Yeah, they're never going to expect this, are they? And then he dies, gets shot through the head. No blood though.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think there's like a tiny little drop.
But when he's like saying, like when Josh Peck's character is like rubbing his head saying goodbye, there's no exit wound in his head. There's no blood over his head.
I remember when we were watching it, when it got to that scene where they were having a heart-to-heart, I was on my phone and you told me to get off my phone. I was like, it's the end of the film. You were like, no, it's not. And I was like, oh, well, Chris Hemsworth is clearly going to die in a second.
Yeah,
I just thought it was so predictable.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, all right, it's the end of the film now. And it keeps going on. And that happened about like 3 times. And then like the one time where I thought it wasn't going to end, it ended.
Yeah.
It ends so abruptly in the end.
Yeah, where they're just attacking the compound. But I think I need to choose better films next time. I liked it when I was 16.
Yeah. Going back to what you were talking about, the camera earlier on, I think later on in the film it has the complete opposite problem where the camera won't stop moving.
Yeah.
It's very representative of that time where every action movie had really bad, like, shaky camera.
I think do you think it's also like an excuse to sort of mask the violence a bit as well, because they are operating under a 12 rating? And I don't even think that's like an excuse though, because you do see movies with 12 ratings that do depict violence so much better than this. It's terrible to look at, along with like the bland storytelling and the forced emotional struggle between Jed and Matty. It's awful, man.
What?
It's terrible.
Classic names.
Like, what do they even say? He's like,
do you ever find out what Jed's real name is? Because definitely just not Jed.
Jedwood.
Yeah, probably Jedwood.
The acting is really bad as well.
Yeah.
I like Josh Peck, but this is not the type of role that he can play. He can play comedic roles, and that's about it.
You on about watching him in ATM as well? I can't remember.
He's awful in that film. I think obviously I like him in Drake and Josh. I think we all do. He was also in a
Fuck me, brother.
He was in a film that came out just before Drake and Josh called Mean Creek, I think it is.
Is that when he's like on the boat and he starts swearing going mental at people?
He just goes, Clyde, you're a fucking cunt at one point. It's amazing. Yeah, he plays like this bully. It's like a drama where he plays this bully who has no friends because obviously he's a bully, and like one of the kids he bullies is like, I think we need to take him out on a boat and like teach him a lesson. So they're like, hey, do you want to come hang out with us? And he's like, I actually have friends now. And he's like being really nice to him all day, and then he snaps, and in retaliation they murder him.
Do they actually?
Yeah, it's like halfway through the film.
They drown him?
Yeah, they kick him off the boat and he drowns.
Well,
and then
he doesn't swim?
No. And then the rest of the film is them like coming to terms with the fact that they've just killed someone.
Probably
it's really fucked.
Fatty sinks.
But yeah,
he plays in this movie though, isn't there?
He plays pretty much a comedic role in that, and he does it really well. So I think that's just what he can do, not action roles.
So as we've established, this was a very poor movie.
Yeah.
How many Chris Hemsworth out of 10 are you going to give it?
Are we
Chris?
really not done talking about this fucking movie?
I really want to. What do you want to carry on?
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about the morality of it. What the fuck?
What do you mean
so
the
black and
morality
white.
of it?
It's so black and white.
Koreans are invading. They've
Koreans
got
bad. Okay, here's one thing that I did find out. The originally the enemy was supposed to be China, but they had to go back on it in post-production, change it to North Korea.
Yeah, so they
didn't want it to affect the China box office.
Yeah, mate, that's.
So does that mean there are Chinese actors playing North Korean people?
I fucking told you.
I don't know.
But that's exactly what happened with. That's what happens with a lot of movies that go to China.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. I think there's been like movies where scenes have been changed specifically for the Chinese
it's
region.
Like Disney. They always have recently, over the last few years, they've been putting in gay characters into their films, but they've put them in such a small way that they can go, "Hey, we got a gay character in our film," but remove it for Chinese audiences.
Yeah.
Like that film Onward, the new Pixar film.
Yeah.
There's a character who literally says that she's got a girlfriend, and obviously that's just one line they can cut out. Rise of Skywalker has 2 girls kissing at the end in like a shot that lasts 2 seconds, so they can cut that out.
Captain Marvel in the comics in the MCU is a gay character.
I just assumed she was watching the film, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the chemistry between her and her mate.
Yeah.
That has
Oh,
the
no, I
kid.
think they were just good mates.
No, I kind of felt it was more than that.
What, she fancied her and her mate didn't?
No,
Just now that she got superpowers.
I thought they had a thing that they don't talk about.
I don't know, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, she's they fucking doled that down for the Chinese audience, didn't they?
I was thinking about like the Hunger Games that I watched recently, and I thought even that has more to say about like corruption in a system of government than this fucking movie does. I don't think this movie even tried to say anything about that. It just wanted to be a badass action
I think
movie.
this was just about a what if Korea did invade. Then
What
it
if
would
China
be,
did invade
then
initially?
Then it would be black and white. They're the bad guys invading our home turf. Fuck them up.
I've not watched the original, but I've heard, I think it is much more politically driven. But I think a lot of it is still just cheesy 80s action movie.
They didn't even try.
But the villains in that are Russians.
Yeah, you get the little nod to that with the Russian Spetsnaz in this movie, but it's like 3 characters and that's it.
Also, I don't know if you guys noticed it, whether I was just going insane, but there was multiple shots where it looked like there was just loads of really thin black lines going across the whole screen.
Really?
I didn't know if it was like a problem with Max's TV or
no, definitely not.
Netflix or
vertical
what.
that way.
Yeah.
Probably, because my TV has that with
But
everything.
it wasn't every shot, it was just random shots. It would just
I don't
happen
know.
every once in a while.
I couldn't see the movie properly, to be fair, Chris.
Yeah.
My TV is pristine. Must have been the movie.
Well, why do you want to get a new one then?
Bigger.
Yeah, but your dad said this one has a black line for it.
He might be lying though.
It would be like
I
this
really don't
film
want Max
all the
to have
time.
this TV.
There's also some great lines in the movie, like "We're living in COD." Where he says, "We're living in Call of Duty."
Call of Duty. That's what he says.
Max's note
My
that he made
favourite-
down.
My favourite line in this whole movie is when they say, "Marines don't die, they just go to hell and regroup."
It's
I'm
like
oh my god.
Classic cheesy lines. Or the whole, "Hey Pete."
Oh yeah, obviously he just like stands there with his middle finger up, waiting for the explosion
Yeah,
to
for
go
like
off.
20 seconds. Just standing.
That was and then he just like shouts, "It's the Wolver," and then blows up. I think that's meant to be a sort of a feel-good moment that he betrayed them and then he fucking died, but you just can't help but think, what? Why would you when you're being invaded by another country just walk out to put your middle finger up at someone? Fucking shoot him.
Fuck this movie. I hate this movie.
was pretty bad. I promise I'll pick a good one next. Actually, no, fuck it. You guys have picked shit movies the last few times. I had to sit through a music video that lasted an hour. Your robot video.
Oh yeah. So that's that then. Red Dawn, bad. I'm gonna give this 2 Red Dawns out of 10.
No, Chris Hemsworth.
2 Chris Hemsworths out of 10.
I'm going to give it 3 only because it had an attractive blonde in it.
Nice. I'll
Yep.
give it a 2, I guess.
Ooh, lowered his rating, he has.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 on Letterboxd.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's 2 Chris Hemsworths out of 10. So I was trying to set up the wheel.
Do you want to? Yeah. Do you want to do the wheel, Chris? We've already said about the. Oh no. So Chris
we do
wants
that at
to
the end,
end.
and then-
Well, it depends. Chris wants to end the podcast every episode with like a topic about film that we can talk about. So do you want to do the wheel last? Do the wheel first, and then
We'll
talk
do
about
the
it?
wheel last.
Yep.
All right. So you want to talk about?
So, we're currently in a pandemic. It's pretty shit for every single business.
Yeah.
But I feel like,
Not Amazon.
no, they're doing pretty good. The arts in general are really struggling at the moment. And the movie industry is especially doing bad because every film has to be delayed at the moment because the film industry is just like, well, if we put it out right now, no one's going to go see it.
Did
But
you? Okay, carry on. Sorry.
But the problem is, if they don't put it out now, the cinemas are going to struggle. Like, Cineworld's just closed. And it's not just Cineworld. They own multiple other chains. They own Showtime in...
There's a lot of
also
American
here.
things of American.
They own
cinemas.
Regal in America, who are the biggest
Yeah.
cinema chain in America. And obviously Cineworld are the biggest here. And they've
I
shut...
thought View was here
No, Cineworld are...
because the nearest Cineworld that I know that we've got is Whiteley.
Yeah, there's one Chichester and
Chichester,
Southampton as well.
Oh, okay. But did you hear my voice clip that I put in the chat yesterday about the whole Cineworld thing?
No.
No.
Well, about how the studios just gonna have to suck it up.
All right.
Yeah.
Like, you think about it, they don't want to put the films out now. Let's take Tenet, for example, didn't really perform well,
No.
and that's probably made a lot of studios not really want to release their films, because then take something like Black Widow, for example, probably took a lot to make. they'd probably just break even getting out now. Not by the fact that not a lot of people are going to see them, but with £5 movie tickets over here, there's a limited number of seats that you can put in the theatre. You can't fill it up anymore. And the thing is, if studios just don't suck it up and take a hit now, say for example 25% in the theatres across, let's say the south of England, our sort of areas, closed down, although they're going to be losing a bit of money now, you're not going to have that many theatres to put the movies into after this is all done. So then you're left putting your movies on things like Disney Plus, streaming services where people can get, like, jailbreak their software to just stream it. And you'll find more people illegally downloading these movies.
A lot of the films that have been going on to digital over the pandemic, like The Invisible Man and The Host and all these other films, they are still performing really well because people are renting them. A lot of people do want to support the movie industry and do want to tell the industry what they want made and stuff like that. They do want to support it, but
I think
at the moment we can't really because of what's going on.
I think it's easier. Something like The Invisible Man, like take Disney Plus for example. They released the live action Mulan, didn't they, on Disney Plus?
I don't think that did very well either.
No, but
the reason for that is because to watch it you had to have a subscription to Disney Plus, and then you had to pay another £30.
But I think that's the point, because you had to you have to rent it. Like, I wouldn't imagine them releasing Black Widow on Disney Plus and then you just getting it for £6 a month. Because of course not. They're not going to make the money.
There's no problem with paying like
£30 is not acceptable.
£30 is so much.
Yeah.
But the fact you have to pay for a subscription first before you can even get to paying the £30.
I do think that's a bit of a piss take, because let's say you took your family to the cinema to see something like Mulan, and let's say there was you, 2 kids, and like a parent, and then you bought like your fucking sweets and shit. It's definitely going to cost you more than £30. But I think that's just their way of bumping their subscription numbers up.
Yeah,
because I guarantee a lot of people just did a free trial, watched the movie, and then ducked out. I did for the MCU stuff, watched it within the week, and then cancelled my subscription.
Well, maybe they shouldn't put it just on Disney Plus, put it on like Amazon and Google Play and stuff like that. Where
I don't think they'd want to put it on Amazon. To them, it's a competing.
Well, you can still buy and rent films on Amazon. That's just what I meant. Not like just put it on Amazon Prime for free. Still make you pay for it.
Put it everywhere.
I think one of the things that a lot of studios should look at doing is simultaneously releasing it in the cinema and on places where you can rent. Like they did it with that new Bill and Ted movie, and that's done pretty well in both theatres and renting.
But there are some of these movies where I just feel I have to see them in the cinema.
Yeah. Like
with Tenet, say what you will about that movie, but it's probably best experienced in the cinema.
Definitely.
I mean, there's like parts of it I don't really understand in terms of like the audio and the vocals, but that's still like an experience. That was a huge film, and it made pittance. And
yes, it's made back its budget, but considering how long it took to do that, that's pretty crazy.
But going to the theatre is just an experience, isn't it? Like, could you imagine watching a movie on my TV with how shit it sounds?
No, of course not.
But that's like the thing with like a lot of people. I don't think that a lot of people have home speaker setups. They just watch it like you do.
I think it's more
TV
common
speakers
now than it was a few years ago.
Yeah, for sure. But I think a lot of people do want to support these movies, and I don't really mind if they like, if you want to like watch it at home, and to be honest that is the safest way to do it. I don't really judge anyone who's not going out to the cinema at all, to be honest.
You're not paying £5 for a movie ticket and potentially spreading COVID. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, I think that is also a problem. A lot of places you don't feel safe going to the cinema. So I feel like some studios, something they could do is maybe do like a staggered release, like release it in countries or even states in like America where it is safe, where there's not like a huge
I don't think they can
rate of
honestly
infection.
determine that in America because Trump withholds numbers.
Yeah, of course.
Withholds numbers, and then over here you just don't get your fucking results back.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the big things.
and then
that no one knows.
they don't log our results either. Apparently,
Exactly. Do you know what? Fucking an issue with that as well. So one of the stores that I work for now in like another place, one of their staff had a COVID test and got tested positive. So they said to him, who have you been in contact with in the last week, within 2 meters for 15 minutes? The cunt named everyone in the store, so the whole store's closed down. They were all sent home. But with the whole track and trace thing, because it's done by phone, if you and Max have got track and trace on your phone and you've got COVID and he doesn't, and you aren't anywhere near each other but your phones are right next to each other, that will class you as being within 2 meters for 15 minutes. So even that is unreliable because say if you put your phones in the locker at work,
apparently the app, all it does is it gives you like a notification saying you may have been in contact with someone who's tested positive, and when you click on it, it just goes away. It doesn't give you any information.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do when things go back to normal.
No one does. I think there's a lot of uncertainty. Like, how many movies have been released this year since COVID-19 has happened?
Probably
in the cinema.
Do it on one hand, couldn't you?
Probably. Like Bad Boys 2 is like one of the highest grossing movies of the year because it's like one of the only movies to come out this year. Oh, no, not Bad Boys. Sorry, I'm thinking about Hot Fuzz. Bad Boys for Life is what I mean.
Yeah.
That's one of the highest grossing movies of the year.
Came out in like January or something.
Yeah.
The only film you can go and see.
The only films that have had big releases since the pandemic is Tenet and The New Mutants.
Yeah.
And both of them have kind of been a failure, which is what was making all the studios be like, yeah, we're not going to do that again.
But what's going to be the result? Like, when all the movie theatres close down, they've got their options are release it now and just let fucking everyone pay for it and support you as much as they can, or in a year's time where there's no theatres, you release it on your streaming service so you don't get fuck all anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, pretty much everyone has delayed their movies now. If they were coming out in the cinema, it's been delayed. Dune got delayed recently. It was supposed to come out in December. Now it's coming out next November. It's like
Black Widow is delayed by a year.
Yeah.
The Batman has been delayed another year.
2021 now, isn't it?
2022 now.
2022.
And I'm not surprised. Like, everyone's doing it, but it's very disheartening, I think. And no one knows what to do.
It's a bit uncertain, but even like Chris was saying earlier, like our government is cutting funds to the arts. Like, it's just And did you say like they said told everyone that is in the industry to get qualifications to get real jobs?
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. Like,
insulting that was.
Yeah. Like,
did either of you guys see that ITV like tweeted about that, and then like 2 hours later they removed it and like rephrased it because the person that they quoted saying it kicked off, and then all the replies are just literally people sending the video where he said exactly that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he lied. Fucking hell, man.
Yeah, he was like, I never said that people should retrain and get new skills. I love the arts industry. That's why I've created this scheme, but it just isn't going to work.
A lot of the moves that you see from the government nowadays is very reactionary. Boris is it seems like every other day Boris is apologising for something he's done or something he's said. You know, like Donald Trump, he tweets a lot of shit, to be honest, and he gets backlash for it. It's a crazy time, and it's unfortunate that the arts are so terribly funded, because they do make up a lot of the economy, and a lot of people need entertainment. They fucking need it. Otherwise, what are we, just unfeeling robots that can't emote?
It's just a release. Like, could you imagine not never going to a theatre, but having to travel to Southampton for the only theatre within our area that we can get to? Being, I don't want to say deprived, because it's a fucking first world problem. I mean, comparing us to children that are in Africa that don't even have fucking clean water, and we're moaning about not being able to see a movie. But at the same time, Like, it's a way for people to escape, for the same way that, like, watching YouTube or listening to music, and as soon as you cut out, like, being able to see bands live and connecting to a something that you feel strongly about in that way, or going to the theatre with your mates and experiencing, like, there are some movies where you just genuinely don't get the same feel at home as you do in a theatre, and I imagine the second Lord of the Rings is one of those movies, the Battle of Helm's Deep, where it's just fucking huge, just feels different in a theatre that you can't get the same feel with at home.
All the Marvel films are like that as well.
Yeah, like Endgame would be a big
I've
one.
seen the double bill of Endgame and Infinity Wars, one of the best film experiences I've ever had.
I told you a will that I was genuinely upset that I'd never be able to experience what that was like ever again, because the anticipation when I was so excited to get to see that double screen and to experience Endgame, the first showing of it, and it was just like, the next year when it was like the year anniversary of it, I was like, fucking, I'd never be able to get that again. Yeah,
there's two film experiences for me that I think are the two greatest experiences I've ever had watching a film, and that was when I went to see 2001: A Space Odyssey and Apocalypse Now in the cinema. Both like
Isn't
old
Apocalypse
movies.
Now subtitled?
No.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different film then.
If you think of Apocalypto,
yeah,
but they're both old
that you know
films. Both old films that are huge and grand, and films that watching them at home on a TV screen, it doesn't really do the film justice.
There's also like something to say about like the people around you when you're in the cinema, because when you're at home and you're just sitting watching a movie, like maybe you put on like a big epic and you're just sat there like eating chips or whatever,
like Red Dawn,
you're like whatever, you're just in your underwear. But then when everyone's around you in the cinema, there's this sense of like collective community, and everybody like when something huge happens, everyone goes oh, and I love that feeling in the cinema.
Do you remember in Avengers, you were there when we saw Infinity War at the midnight screen as well, weren't you? And it's the scene when we were watching it, and it was the scene where the Red Skull's introduced after the first ever fucking, or I think it was the second like Marvel movie. You haven't seen him, and just the collective like gas that you've got. Do you ever watch audience reaction videos to certain films? I fucking love watching them. Could you imagine?
Have you ever watched the ones to The Exorcist where there's people like throwing up and passing out in the cinema?
No,
it's crazy.
Back in the 70s, is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, did cameras even exist in the 70s?
Yeah.
Had they filmed the film?
Cameras has existed for,
it's just
like,
two people performing
ages,
on a
man.
stage. You ever seen the meme picture? It's like someone taking a picture. It's like the creation of the first ever camera being created. It's like, who the fuck's taking the picture or something like that.
Yeah.
But going about the like theatre and watching films at home then in the cinema, it's the same thing of like comedy shows. Like watching a comedy special at home and then going to see it, I've found that I laugh a lot more when I'm in a live audience than I do at home, because you're all there together, and you're all like, it's just you're sharing something in common with everyone around you.
Yeah, it's the same with seeing a band live and then either listening to the album or watching like footage of the live concert.
I think the only good thing that the only strong connection I've ever felt to anyone around me during like watching a band is Slam Dunk, when I started rapping The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and a group of people joined in with me, and then I never spoke to them again. But
I think the sad thing is the Cineworld's closing is probably going to be a sign of the future of cinema. I don't see.
Maybe if things carry on.
You have places like Netflix who are hiring like huge name directors like Martin Scorsese and Noah Baumbach and stuff like that to make these incredible movies like The Irishman and Marriage Story, and like I'm thinking of Ending Things, the Charlie Kaufman film that came out a month or two ago. All these huge directors are putting films out on Netflix and Amazon Prime and stuff like that, so it's kind of leading to that being a better outlet than working with a major studio.
A lot of there's been a lot of big actors and actors and actresses taking on more Netflix projects as well, and Amazon Prime originals and stuff like that.
Obviously, Adam Sandler's had a deal with Netflix for years now. The first ever Netflix original movie was an Adam Sandler movie.
That was what was it?
Yeah, the Magnificent Seven or whatever the fuck it was called. That really bad Western parody he made.
He did Uncut Gems though, which was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was good.
But that's less an Adam Sandler movie and more Safdie Brothers.
Yeah, he's great in the right movies.
Yeah.
Then he's got that new one about Halloween.
Hubie Halloween. That's going to be amazing.
I think Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2 is probably the best duality ever created.
Yeah, man. No, you're forgetting Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Is Adam Sandler in there?
No.
Oh,
his production company made it. So.
Oh, really? Adam Sandler's a production company?
Yeah, Happy Gilmore Productions.
Oh, fuck off.
Oh, God, yeah.
Wait, did they produce Happy Gilmore as well? Or was it after?
I know it's Happy Madison it's called, because it's a mixture of
Happy Gilmore and
Billy Madison.
Yeah.
God.
Fucking hell.
So
for the long and short of it, the art industry is fucked unless the government pulls their finger out and the studios stop being cocks and just release these fucking movies.
Yeah.
I don't want to be pessimistic about it. I want to believe that after all this is done, I don't know when that's going to be, nobody does, but I want to believe that cinemas will still be a thing.
2020, Max, don't say anything else.
If I can't see The French Dispatch in the cinema next year, I'm going to be heartbroken.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think all the millionaires would give a shit, Chris.
If I can't see Venom 2 in the cinema, I'm going to be annoyed.
I will track down Wes Anderson personally and say, put it out, bitch.
Just stay 2 meters away from him.
Yeah.
So, do you want to get the spinning wheel of fate up?
Yeah, so we have a gigantic list for our marathons. It's on a wheel, a spinning wheel. I'll put the sound next to the microphone so everyone can hear as it spins. And it just picks a film at random.
I really hope we get the Transformers movie that Chris didn't want on the list.
We'll see.
I made him put on.
Oh my God. What's going to happen? Whoa!
The From Dusk Till Dawn trilogy.
What's that?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Is there 3 of them?
There is.
How about that?
Can we not watch Shaun of the Dead instead?
No, we did that last episode. From Dusk Till Dawn, we'll talk about that.
Has anyone seen any of the
Is it like Dusk Till Dawn 1, 2 and 3?
Yeah.
What? It's From Dusk Till Dawn 2? That's what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Has anyone seen any of the From Dusk Till Dawn movies?
No, I haven't.
The first one is about George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, who are on the run. They go across the borders. They go to a bar in Mexico, and they get attacked by vampires.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
great.
Then, right.
It's a horror action hybrid.
What, all 3?
I assume so. I've only watched the first one.
Well, we'll see.
Okay. Have you ever seen any of them?
No, I have not.
I've not seen any of them either, so...
Interested in that.
The first marathon where pretty much all of us are going in blind.
Yeah. Also in keeping with October and Halloween, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
In it.
Yeah,
Halloween,
there we go.
You can buy a vampire costume in Halloween.
Yeah. So if you want to listen to that, that's going to be out next week, next Sunday.
We'll make sure to drink blood the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah, we should just drink Bloody Marys the whole podcast.
No, actual blood.
A bit like at a Red Dawn.
How about that?
Me and Max won't be drinking bloody.
What was that?
Like,
when he made him drink blood.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That was a little... I just thought that part in Red Dawn. I was like, you're both just being cocks for no reason.
Anyway, that'll be on for the next episode, episode 3. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned. More coming. And stay safe. Don't forget to watch Hubie Halloween straight to Netflix soon. Should do that at the end. I like it. Bookending.
You sound like when fucking Steve in Minecraft takes full damage.
Thank you very much for listening. Peace out.